These 12 Stoic principles are changing lives quietly. Stoic Love is Part 1. The line between control and chaos. Imagine you're standing on the edge of a stormy cliff. The wind is howling, waves are crashing below, and the sky splits with thunder. Everything around you is chaos. You can't stop the rain, you can't quiet the wind. But you can choose whether to scream into the storm or stand still, grounded and unmoved. That moment, that exact choice, is the first step to a different life. This is where every Stoic journey begins. Because for over 2,000 years, one truth has whispered through the halls of ancient Rome and echoed into modern chaos. You cannot control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond. That was Epictetus's wisdom, and it's still the foundation of inner peace today. Let's make it personal. You wake up one morning to a message that flips your world upside down. A project you poured your soul into was rejected. A partner walks away. Or maybe the job you thought was secure just disappeared overnight. Your first instinct? Panic, rage, blame. The mind scrambles for control, grabbing at anything. Emails, arguments, explanations, trying to fix what's already spiraling. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more powerless you feel. This is where most people stay stuck, trapped in resistance, in denial, in the illusion that life owes them stability. The Stoics didn't waste their energy here. They redrew the battlefield. Instead of asking, "How do I fix the storm?" they asked, "How do I face the storm?" Epictetus himself wasn't born into comfort. He was a slave, lame in one leg, beaten, owned. But even with iron on his limbs, he was freer than most of us are today, because no man could shackle his mind. He taught that every event is divided into two categories: our thoughts, our judgments, our actions. What is beyond our control? Other people's opinions, the past, accidents, weather, death. And he made this line sacred. He said, "If you want freedom, happiness, and strength, focus only on what you can control." Angela was an executive at a fast-growing startup. Her leadership style? Calm, empowering, thoughtful. Until one day, the board fired her with no warning, blaming poor results that weren't even in her hands. She could have fought, could have gone public, lashed out, and maybe she would have won. The noise. But Angela didn't. She paused, sat still, and asked the only question that mattered. What part of this is mine to carry, and what part is not? She took the feedback she could grow from, and released the rest, like stones into the sea. Today she leads her own company, stronger, quieter, wiser. Most people waste their lives trying to move mountains they were never meant to carry. They try to fix people, reverse time, predict the future, win every argument, please every voice. And in doing so, they exhaust their soul. The Stoics offer an alternative. Draw the line, stand your ground, master your response. Control in this philosophy isn't about dominance. It's about clarity, knowing where your power ends and where surrender begins. So here's the challenge. The same one Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Try this today. Every time something upsets you, pause. Don't act. Don't speak. Just ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, act with wisdom and calm. That's how the transformation begins, not by moving the storm, but by learning to stand still within it. And when you do, you'll feel it, that unshakable center the Stoics spoke of. It's not magic, it's practice, and it starts with this: control yourself, not the world. Part 2. The only moment that matters. You've drawn the line. You now know what is within your control. But what's next? The answer lies in the one place most people never look. Not in the future where hopes live, nor in the past where regrets haunt, but here, in the breath you're taking right now. Let me ask you something. Where are you, really? Are you here, with this sentence, or already somewhere else, replaying a conversation from yesterday, or anticipating a meeting tomorrow? The Stoics would say, you've left the only place you ever truly exist, the present. Imagine this. You're the ruler of the Roman Empire. Wars rage on the frontiers, politics twist behind your back, and the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. What do? Marcus Aurelius did something surprising. He sat quietly and wrote in his journal. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This wasn't poetry. It was a survival tool. A mental shield against the chaos of empire. Because Marcus understood what few people ever do. The mind is a time traveler. And every time it leaves the present, it drags your peace with it. Daniel, a young architect, was driving to work, just like every day. But he wasn't in the car. Not really. His hands gripped the wheel, but his thoughts were looping last night's argument. His jaw clenched, heart racing, playing out future conversations he hadn't even had yet. By the time he arrived at the office, he was already exhausted. And the day hadn't even begun. Sound familiar? This is the invisible cost of not being present. We leak energy into moments that don't exist, reliving wounds or pre-living fears, and call it being productive. But it's not productivity. It's mental fragmentation. The Stoics didn't just understand this. They trained for it. To them, presence wasn't just peace, it was power. Because now is where life happens. Now is where decisions are made. Now is where control lives. Seneca said it best. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. So how do we do it? Not by force, but by practice. When you eat, taste your food. Eat. When you walk, feel your steps. Eat. When you speak, listen deeply. When emotions rise, pause and return to your breath. This is not slow living. It's real living. There's a story of a Roman soldier who survived many brutal campaigns. When asked how he kept calm through so much horror, he said this: "In battle, I only had one choice: focus on the next step, or die in the noise of what just happened." That's the Stoic mindset. Focus on the task at hand, because the present moment is the only one that demands your attention. The rest is illusion. In a world obsessed with speed, presence is a rebellion. People will tell you to multitask, hustle, prepare for 10 years ahead. But if you don't master now, 10 years will come and go, and you'll have missed them. The Stoics invite us to live deeply, not fast. They invite us to be where our feet are. So the next time your thoughts start drifting to what hurt you or what scares you, remember, those places are not real. This moment is. And if you can return to it, again and again, something beautiful happens. The noise fades, the future stops screaming, and you, for the first time in a long time, feel alive again. What's within your control? Your presence, your attention, your ability to live one moment at a time. That's where Stoic strength begins. Not in a perfect future, not in rewriting the past, but here, in the sacred, unrepeatable moment called now. Now that you've anchored yourself in the present, You begin to feel a strange clarity, a space opening up inside you. Self-discipline. Not the kind barked by drill sergeants, not punishment, not perfection, but the quiet, unwavering kind that whispers, "I will keep going, even when no one is watching." Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote these words to himself. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't talking to an audience. He was writing to keep himself grounded. Every day he faced betrayal, war, and death. Yet each morning he woke early, reviewed his values, and reminded himself, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He understood something profound. Your habits form your character, and your character shapes your destiny. Claire was a software developer, working from home. No boss watching her, no fixed hours, just projects and deadlines. At first, it sounded like freedom. But that freedom became chaos, sleeping late, skipping workouts, delaying everything. Then one morning she read a quote from Epictetus. "No great thing is created suddenly." Something clicked. She didn't need to conquer the world today. She needed to conquer herself. She began waking up at the same time, journaling for 10 minutes, walking outside, rain or shine. No big leaps, just quiet repetition. And within a month, Claire wasn't just more productive. She was stronger inside, calmer, focused, grounded. That's self-discipline, not flashy, not glamorous, but deeply transformative. To the Stoics, discipline wasn't about rigidity. It was about inner structure. It was the scaffolding for your soul. So when storms came, you didn't collapse. Think of it this way. A disciplined mind doesn't panic in uncertainty. A disciplined body doesn't break under stress. A disciplined soul doesn't chase every impulse, every desire. Because discipline isn't restriction. It's freedom from chaos. In ancient Sparta, boys were trained from age 7 in the agoge, not to become brutes, but to master their impulses. They fasted, they endured pain, they rose before the sun. Why? Because the Spartans believed, he who conquers himself is more powerful than he who conquers a city. Discipline wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. And though we may not train for war today, life still battles us, with distractions, cravings, and endless noise. Only discipline sharpens us to face it. So, how do you begin? Not with a massive overhaul, but with one small promise, kept daily. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's writing 3 sentences each morning. Maybe it's saying no to the second drink or the extra hour of scrolling. Whatever it is, make it sacred. Because self-discipline grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. It rewires your identity. From, "I wish I could," to, "I am the kind of person who does." Self-discipline is not loud. It doesn't need applause, but it leaves echoes in your posture, your choices, your presence. It's what lets you meet chaos with calm, face temptation with clarity, and rise not just once, but again and again. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you simply did what you said you would? That's not just discipline. That's liberation. Part 4. The unshakable core. Emotional resilience. If self-discipline is the skeleton, the frame that holds you upright, then emotional resilience is the pulse within you. The quiet, steady rhythm that keeps you grounded when the world spins too fast. Because life doesn't just test our time, our energy, or our plans. It tests our emotions. Fear, anger, shame, sadness. These aren't flaws. They are part of being human. But Stoicism teaches us something revolutionary. Emotions are real, but how we respond is a choice. James had it all: the job, the house, the six-figure title. But one meeting changed everything. Laid off, just like that. 15 years of effort, erased in 5 minutes. He went home, furious, embarrassed, spiraling. And yet, he didn't rage. He didn't post online. He remembered a line from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So he gave himself 24 hours. No decisions, just breath. The next day he wrote in his journal, "This pain is valid, but it will not control my actions." That pause, that space between emotion and reaction, it was the birthplace of his resilience. Contrary to what many believe, Stoics did not suppress emotion. They honored emotion, but they refused to be ruled by it. To Epictetus, emotions weren't enemies, but signals. Like a ship's wind, they couldn't be controlled, but they could be navigated. He taught, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Feelings rise: anger, jealousy, grief. But how we interpret them, how we act, that is where our true power lies. Seneca, the Roman philosopher and statesman, once received news. His dear friend had died tragically. He wept. He grieved. He even wrote about the sorrow. But he didn't collapse. He wrote to comfort others, saying, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He mourned, but with clarity. He let pain pass through, not possess him. Emotional resilience isn't about being numb. It's about being anchored, especially when the waves rise. Think of your emotional life like a battlefield. Every day, something will try to provoke you. Passive-aggressive message, disappointing phone call, memory that comes back uninvited. The question isn't whether emotion arises. The question is, can you pause before reacting? That pause is your shield. It turns blind reaction into conscious choice. It says, I see you, anger, but you don't drive today. Like muscle, resilience grows with practice. Here's how you begin. 1. Meant it to tame it. When emotion surges, don't deny it. Label it. This is frustration. This is fear. Naming gives you space. Breathe before you speak. Inhale slowly. Let the body settle. Emotions live in the body, but so does wisdom. 3. Journaling. The chaos out safely. The Stoics wrote daily, not to impress, but to understand. 4. Reframe the narrative. Ask, is this emotion helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Every time you pause, you train your nervous system to respond, not react. In ancient Japan, samurai were taught not just swordsmanship, but stillness. They meditated. They studied philosophy. Because in battle, it wasn't brute force that saved lives. It was presence, calmness, clarity under pressure. You too are in battles, emotional ones. And resilience is your silent armor. So next time rage floods in, or despair whispers in the dark, don't fight it blindly. Acknowledge it. Breathe. Choose your next step with wisdom. Because that is true power. Not in domination of others, but in mastery of self. Part 5. The Art of Embracing Change. If emotional resilience is the armor we wear to weather the storm, then the next test comes not from within, but from time itself, from change. Change doesn't knock politely. It breaks doors. It dissolves routines, rewrites plans, and sometimes redefines us. And while the heart may whisper, "I'm not ready," life rarely waits for readiness. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make of it." He watched his empire shift. Alliances fade. Friends die. Glory rise and fall like tides. But he never clung to permanence. To him, change wasn't tragedy. It was the rhythm of nature, the current of the river we're all flowing in. To resist it, he believed, was madness. So he learned to let go. Not carelessly, but consciously. He wrote not to preserve control, but to release it. Amelia had it planned: the job, the wedding, the life. But 2020 shattered that blueprint. Wedding postponed. Job lost. Apartment lease canceled. She crumbled at first, naturally. Then a quote hit her. "Everything is ephemeral. That is what makes life beautiful." She printed it, taped it above her desk. Every day she read it. She stopped trying to get her old life back. She built a new one. Not out of bitterness, but out of acceptance. She began freelance writing. She volunteered. She grew. Today, she says, "That chaos taught me who I really was. Not because I controlled it, but because I stopped fearing it." Change is the nature of all things. The Stoics didn't fight this truth. They embraced it. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life is long if you know how to use it. And what wastes life more than clinging to what was? We try to freeze time in moments. The perfect relationship, the stable job, the youthful energy. But time has no loyalty. It keeps moving." The Stoics teach, flow with it. Not passively, not lazily, but actively, by adapting, learning, and growing. 1. See it as natural change. Isn't failure, it's physics. Everything, from stars to skin, evolves. 2. Google it. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, visualizing loss or disruption ahead of time, not to be pessimistic, but to be prepared. 3. Detach from the outcome. Focus on your effort, not the result. The river of life will shift no matter how tightly you grip the rocks. 4. Find the lesson. Every ending is also a beginning. Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. Every strike of the chisel removes something once thought necessary. Change is like that chisel. At first it feels violent, a loss. But slowly you begin to see the shape emerge, not despite the change, but because of it. You will lose things. Plans will fail. People will leave. Versions of you will die along the way, and it's okay. Because in every season of change, there is an invitation to evolve. The Stoics didn't find peace by locking life in place. They found peace by dancing with impermanence. So the next time the wind shifts, don't curse the storm. Lift your sail, because what feels like loss might just be the direction your soul was always meant to follow. Part 6. Turning obstacles into opportunities, the Stoic alchemy of adversity. So, once you've accepted that change is the only constant, once you've stopped swimming against the current and instead let it carry you into new terrain, you're ready for the next Stoic transformation, to stop seeing obstacles as curses and start seeing them as the course. This isn't just about enduring misfortune, it's about redefining it. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That is the Stoics' most powerful mental judo, using the weight of your struggles to strengthen your path forward. Elena had prepared for the scholarship interview for months. Straight A's, volunteer work, public speaking, late nights, early mornings. But when the decision came, rejection. She was devastated. For a week she sulked. What more could I have done? She asked. But one night, as she reread Marcus Aurelius's quote, something clicked. What stands in the way becomes the way. So instead of wallowing, she reached out to a local charity to keep busy. That volunteering turned into a network. And within 6 months, she was offered an internship at a global nonprofit, a life-changing experience the scholarship would never have given her. The rejection didn't derail her, it redirected her. That's the Stoic move. Obstacles aren't endings, they're signposts, but only if you're willing to read them. Marcus Aurelius was no stranger to hardship. He ruled during plague, war, famine, and political betrayal. Yet in his personal writings, the now famous Meditations, he never once asked, "Why me?" Instead, he asked, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this moment to practice virtue?" When his best general betrayed him, he used it as a lesson in trust and humility. When the plague decimated his people, he turned to compassion and service. He did not wish the obstacle away. He stepped into it and walked through it stronger. Let's reframe the very idea of a problem. Is it blocking your way, or is it showing you where you're weak and where you can grow? Broken relationship reveals where you feared confrontation. Career setback tests your identity beyond job titles. Health crisis forces you to cherish what you once ignored. As the Stoics knew, life doesn't happen to you. It happens for your development, if you choose to see it that way. Pain, failure, betrayal, none of these are pleasant, but they are real. And the realness of pain is what sharpens resilience, carves humility, and builds courage. Here are simple Stoic strategies to convert challenges into growth. 1. Ask, why me? But what now? Replace victimhood with forward movement. 2. Reframe the situation. Instead of saying, "I failed," ask, "What did I learn that success wouldn't have taught me?" 3. While adversity as a mirror. What does this obstacle reveal about your expectations, fears, or attachments? 4. Make it a training ground. Every hardship is a chance to practice patience, discipline, and clarity. Seneca once lost nearly all his wealth in a political purge. Gone, his estates, his titles, his power. But in his letters he wrote, not with bitterness, but with a strange sort of joy. He saw it as a reset, a way to return to simplicity, to test whether his philosophy could stand when stripped of comfort. And it did. Seneca proved that the true asset is the self. Not possessions, not status, but inner strength, built precisely because of hardship, not in spite of it. Adversity the Stoics taught, is not a punishment. It's a teacher with rough hands. It doesn't coddle. It doesn't explain itself. But it always leaves you changed. You can either resist it, kicking, screaming, breaking under its weight, or you can meet it with the stillness of a Stoic. Because that wall in front of you, it isn't a dead end. It's a door. And if you lean into it, with courage and calm, it just might open. Part 7. Striving for personal excellence. Becoming the person you admire. By now, we've walked the Stoic path through acceptance of change, and even learned to see adversity not as a barrier, but as a teacher. But where do these lessons lead us? They point to something even greater: the quiet, noble pursuit of personal excellence. The Stoics didn't believe in chasing applause or external rewards. To them, greatness was not a title you wore. It was a character you built. And perhaps no quote captures this ethos better than what Marcus Aurelius once wrote. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. It's not about describing virtue. It's about becoming it. Too often, we measure success by how others perceive us, how many followers we have, how admired we are.
That answer wasn't arrogance, it was clarity of purpose. He saw value in his role, not from how it was perceived by others, but by how fully he served it. He approached his work with excellence, not for praise, but from pride. And that's Stoicism in action. Doing your work, your duty, your life, with care, humility, and unwavering intent. Marcus Aurelius didn't have the luxury of comfort. He was an emperor during plague, war, and betrayal, and yet he wrote to himself every night about being better, calmer, wiser. He could have wielded power with pride. Instead, he wielded it with principle. He judged himself not by how others saw him, but by how he held to his virtues: justice, temperance, courage, and wisdom. He wasn't trying to be remembered. He was trying to be right within himself. This is the Stoic measure of success, not status, but steadfastness. 1. People. Don't wait for society to tell you what matters. Write your own code of conduct. What do you admire in others? Kindness? Discipline? Integrity? Then strive to be that, consistently. Honor the small moments. Personal excellence isn't found in grand speeches. It's found in how you answer a rude comment, how you act when nobody's watching, and how you choose your words when you're angry. Successful covering this video. Ask yourself at the end of each day, did I live in alignment with my values today? Where did I stray? Where did I stay true? This isn't guilt, this is growth. Self-reflection is how we fine-tune our inner compass. Seneca, the Roman statesman and Stoic philosopher, had immense influence and wealth. Yet he repeatedly warned himself against arrogance, comfort, and idleness. He wrote, "Let us not waste our time in idle pursuits, but focus on that which refines the soul." He practiced voluntary hardship, fasting, sleeping on hard surfaces, not out of asceticism, but to remind himself that his character mattered more than his comforts. He believed that excellence was a habit, not a moment. He held himself accountable, not for public approval, but for personal honor. In a world obsessed with success, Stoicism asks a simpler, more enduring question: who are you becoming? Not for Instagram, not for your resume, but for the quiet voice inside you, the one that knows when you're off track and when you're walking the right road. Excellence isn't about being better than others, it's about being better than you were yesterday. So don't just talk about virtue, live it. Walk your path, in silence if you must, but with strength, clarity, and purpose. That is the Stoic way, and that is the kind of greatness that no one can take from you. Part 8. Letting go of the need for recognition, the freedom of inner validation. After striving for excellence not to impress but to live aligned with our highest values,
There's a deeper test that quietly awaits us, one many never see coming. Can you walk your path, even when no one applauds? The Stoics believe true virtue must stand on its own, not in the eyes of the world, not in the echo of praise, but in the stillness of your own conscience. Don't let your value be defined by someone else. It sounds simple, but in today's world, where attention equals currency and opinions fly like arrows, this might be one of the hardest Stoic principles to embody. From childhood, we're conditioned to seek approval, a gold star in class, a parent's smile, a teacher's praise. We learn, subtly but powerfully, that being valued means being validated. So we grow into adults who ask, did they like what I said? You think I'm successful? And slowly, without noticing, we become performers in our own lives, chasing applause instead of meaning. But here's the Stoic truth. Every time you seek worth through someone else's eyes, you surrender a piece of yourself. Epictetus, once a slave, knew what it meant to be owned by others, physically and later emotionally. He taught that freedom isn't just external. It begins with owning your mind. If you want to be free, don't wish for things to happen as you'd like. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will find peace. This includes the desire to be liked, admired, or validated. The moment you stop needing others to recognize your worth is the moment you reclaim your power. There's a story of a young musician who rose to fame quickly. The world loved her songs, praised her voice, worshipped her image. But with every sold-out concert, she grew more anxious, addicted to the noise of approval. The silence between songs scared her more than failure. One day, she left the stage at her peak and disappeared. She was later found playing in small parks, for no one, just her guitar and the sky. When asked why she walked away, she said, "I didn't want to perform. I wanted to play. There's a difference." This is the Stoic heart, doing what is true to you, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote not for an audience, but for himself. His meditations were never meant to be published. He reminded himself again and again not to fall for the illusion of status, reputation, or legacy. He wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." For Marcus, the crowd's applause was nothing if it made him drift from his virtue. He didn't chase admiration. He chased alignment, with reason, with integrity, with nature. What does your soul crave? Is it peace? Creativity? Service? Write your own definition of success, one that needs no audience. Pause when you feel the itch for praise. Ask, am I doing this because it's right, or because I want to be seen? Awareness loosens the grip of validation. Find the signal. Whether it's social media, peer pressure, or public image, reduce exposure. Replace it with silence, solitude, or journaling. Return to yourself. 4. I'll affirm your worth without evidence. You are worthy, not because they say it, but because you live it. This isn't arrogance, it's inner peace. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They felt deeply, but were anchored firmly in themselves. They knew that depending on praise was a fragile foundation, because the same crowd that cheers today might boo tomorrow. And what then? If your identity is rooted in their voice,
You'll lose yourself when they fall silent. But if your identity is rooted in virtue, if your worth is rooted in action, not applause, then no storm can uproot you. Real freedom begins when you no longer need the world to approve your journey. When you can look in the mirror and say, I am proud, not because they said I am, but because I know I am. So walk your path, speak your truth, create your art, serve your values, and let the applause come, or not. You're already enough. That's Stoicism. That's freedom. Part 9. Practicing Gratitude, the Alchemy of the Ordinary. After freeing yourself from the need for recognition, you may feel a strange emptiness, not from lacking, but from shedding. It's the silence after applause, the quiet after craving, and in that space, if you listen closely, you'll find something rare. A whisper that says, "This is enough." That whisper is gratitude. The sacred shift from wanting to having, from chasing to cherishing. It is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratefulness that makes us happy. This Stoic insight, echoed by philosophers and modern psychologists alike, is more than a motivational quote. It's an ancient technology for transforming your inner world, a way to turn what you have, however little, into abundance. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of the Roman Empire, began many of his meditations by listing things he was thankful for: the wisdom of his mentors, the patience of his teachers, even the discipline of his father. He could have obsessed over the wars, the betrayals, the responsibilities of ruling millions, but instead he wrote lines like, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He understood what most people forget. Gratitude doesn't come after joy. Gratitude creates it. There's a true story of a man wrongly imprisoned for over 20 years. When finally released, a journalist asked him, "How did you survive all those years in a cell?" He answered, "I started each day grateful for one thing I still had. One day it was the light through the bars. Another day it was the memory of my mother's voice." He didn't pretend his suffering didn't exist. He chose not to let it blind him to what still remained. That is the Stoic way. To anchor yourself not in the storms you can't control, but in the treasures you can still touch. Gratitude, practiced deeply, turns the mundane into the miraculous. A line sip of water becomes a gift. A loud, quiet evening becomes peace. The price is your loved one's voice becomes music. To write in your own breath becomes evidence. You are here. You are alive. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." What he means is this: the now, with all its imperfections, is enough, but only if you see it. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics intuited. Practicing gratitude literally rewires your brain. It reduces anxiety, lowers cortisol, increases dopamine and serotonin, the happiness chemicals. But the deeper benefit isn't just chemical, it's existential. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. And when you learn to focus on the present, to really savor it, you discover something the modern world forgot. You already have enough to be fulfilled. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Not big things, small specific ones. The way sunlight hit your wall, the taste of your coffee, a laugh with a friend. Specific it aloud. You learn someone, thank someone, not just in your mind but with your voice. Give words to appreciation. It will deepen the emotion for you and elevate the other person. Be grateful for the advanced Stoicism. Thank the difficulty for what it's teaching you. Thank you, rejection, for making me stronger. Thank you, pain, for showing me what matters. This is not delusion, it's vision. The ability to find gold in the dirt. Gratitude is not passive. It's an act of recognition, a rebellion against despair,
a declaration of sufficiency. It says, I don't need more to feel full. I just need to see what I already have. And with that, your whole world transforms. Because when you begin to appreciate your life, you stop needing to escape it. You stop postponing joy. You stop chasing peace like it's somewhere else and start living it right here, in the quiet blessing of your ordinary day. Gratitude doesn't change the facts of your life. It changes the focus. And in doing so, it reveals that you were never empty, just unaware. You were never lacking, just unseeing. So tonight, as you close your eyes, ask, what can I be grateful for right now? Beauty have I ignored today? What is still mine, even in the storm? And let those answers fill you, not with noise, not with applause, but with a deeper kind of wealth, the kind only you can find. Part 10. Memento Mori, the gentle urgency of being alive. After gratitude opens your eyes to life's blessings, something deeper stirs in the soul, a quiet recognition that none of it is forever. The warmth of morning sunlight, the voice of a loved one, even the breath you just took, all of it fleeting. And that is not something to fear, it is something to cherish. This is where the Stoic path brings us next, to Memento Mori, the reminder, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. It's not a morbid thought. It's not designed to terrify you. It's meant to wake you up, to sharpen your sense of what matters. Imagine walking through a gallery filled with the portraits of people who once lived. Some were emperors, others beggars. Some were artists, others soldiers. And not one of them could stop time. Their joys, their regrets, their triumphs, all sealed in the past. You are walking that same gallery now, but your portrait hasn't been painted yet. Your choices are still wet on the canvas. Memento Mori whispers, don't wait. Don't waste today. Seneca once wrote, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. That's the tragedy Stoicism seeks to prevent. Not death itself, but a life unlived. How many days are spent in distraction, in resentment, in meaningless comparison? How often do we say, later I'll fix that, later I'll start, as if later is promised? But Memento Mori brings focus. It's the ultimate life coach. Iterator tells you to say, I love you, while they can still hear it. To forgive, before pride turns into distance. To pursue your craft, your truth, your courage, not tomorrow, but now. Ancient samurai, fierce warriors of feudal Japan, practiced something strikingly similar. Before battle, they would meditate on death. Why? Because it made them fearless. Because once you accept the worst, you are free to act fully, without hesitation. If today might be your last, you don't delay the words that matter. You don't put off the song you were meant to write, or the person you were meant to become. Like the Stoics, they understood. Death doesn't kill meaning. It gives birth to it. Think of your life like a candle. You don't measure a candle by how long it lasts, but by how brightly it burns. Some burn for decades with a dim, hesitant flame. Others light up the world for a short time, but with such brilliance that they're never forgotten. Marcus Aurelius wasn't afraid of death. He feared only wasting the light. And you have that light right now. Still flickering, still warm. How will you use it? Many cancer survivors or people who've had near-death experiences share a strikingly similar insight. They say they only truly began to live once they faced death. Suddenly, small annoyances vanished. They stopped tolerating fake friendships and meaningless work. They started walking barefoot in the grass, laughing louder, holding hands longer. What changed? Not their time, their attention. They stopped assuming they had forever. Memento mori teaches us to live like that now, without waiting for the warning call. How do you make memento mori part of your life without becoming somber or obsessed? 1. Abslection. Begin each day with a reminder, if this were my last day, how would I act? It doesn't mean throwing everything away. It means living with precision and purpose. 2. Reverse regret. Journaling. Before bed, ask, if today were the last page of my story, would I be proud? Let the answer guide how you write tomorrow's chapter. 3. Let go of petty things. When someone cuts you off in traffic, or a comment stings, ask, will this matter on my deathbed? 99% of it won't. Memento mori is not about fearing death. It's about fearing a life where you forget to be alive. It's about kissing your children like it's the last. About creating art that speaks long after you're gone. About turning your attention from fear to legacy. When you hold death close, you love more boldly. You speak more honestly. You live more freely. The Stoics remind us the shadow of death should not darken our days. It should make our light shine brighter. Because in the end, what matters most isn't how long we lived, but how deeply, how intentionally, how fully. So don't run from the truth of your mortality. Walk with it. Let it be your compass. And let it shape a life that needs no apology when it ends. Part 11. Living with kindness and compassion. The strength of a gentle soul. After memento mori humbles us with the truth of our mortality, it also cracks open something even more vital, the awareness that we're all walking each other home. If we're all destined for the same silence, then how we treat one another along the way becomes the loudest thing we ever say. Marcus Aurelius, a man who once ruled the mightiest empire of his time, wrote something that sounds more like poetry than politics. What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. This deceptively simple line reveals the Stoic understanding that we are never separate. No choice you make is isolated. Every word, every gesture, every act of harm or healing ripples. In a world that glorifies individual achievement, Stoicism reminds us, you don't rise by standing on others, you rise by lifting them. Some mistake kindness for fragility, but kindness, in the Stoic sense, isn't soft, it's disciplined empathy. It is choosing to see the full human in someone even when they don't make it easy. Seneca taught that compassion isn't reserved for the deserving. He said, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Kindness is not a reaction to others' behavior, it's a reflection of your character. Think about it. It's easy to be cruel when you're hurting. It's easy to mock when you feel insecure. It's easy to ignore others when you're overwhelmed. But the one who is truly strong, the one who is anchored, that person still chooses kindness, not because the world deserves it, but because they refuse to become unkind themselves. The Stoics believed that every encounter with another person is also an encounter with yourself. Why does that person's rudeness make you so angry? Why does their success trigger envy? When we take time to reflect, we realize that what disturbs us in others often reveals what's unresolved in ourselves. Epictetus taught, when someone irritates you, it's not their action that upsets you, but your own judgment. Kindness, then, becomes not just an offering to the world, it becomes a tool for inner growth. By pausing to listen, by choosing patience over punishment, you begin to understand your own mind more clearly. During World War II, psychiatrist Viktor Frankl was imprisoned in Auschwitz. He lost his wife, his family, everything. Yet in the bleakest of places, he noticed something astonishing. Those who still found small ways to be kind, sharing bread, offering a word of encouragement, were the ones who preserved their dignity. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Kindness in that setting wasn't weakness. It was resistance, a quiet act of power. You don't need a grand gesture to live with empathy. It begins with small, deliberate choices. Period, without preparing your reply. Expels before judgment. Ask yourself, what might this person be going through? Aspel, offer grace, especially when someone least deserves it. That's when they need it most. Compassion isn't about agreeing with everyone. It's about remembering their humanity, even when you disagree. Aristotle spoke of the golden mean, the virtue between extremes. Kindness, taken to the extreme, can become self-sacrifice. But balanced kindness, the Stoic kind, flows from strength. It's not enabling, it's anchored generosity. It doesn't ask, "What do I get out of this?" It asks, "What kind of person do I want to be?" In a world filled with noise, division, and digital disconnection, empathy is a revolutionary act. To truly see another person, to understand their pain without dismissing it, that is the heart of Stoic compassion. Seneca once reminded his readers, "We are waves of the same sea, leaves of the same tree, flowers of the same garden." Your kindness is not just a gift. It's a reunion with something ancient, the truth that we are never really alone. When you walk through the world as a Stoic, you carry a kind of invisible fire, a steadiness in your step, a calm in your words. And in that quiet power, you become someone others feel safe around. You become the person who breaks the cycle, who heals the wound instead of passing it on, who shows that even in a world that rushes and judges and divides, it's still possible to lead with heart. And that is the truest strength there is. Part 12, The Art of Daily Reflection, the Compass Within. As the sun dips below the horizon and silence gently settles over the day, the world finally exhales. And in that quiet, when the noise fades and no one is watching, one question softly rises. Who were you today? This isn't about judgment. It's about alignment. The Stoics understood something profoundly simple. Progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. Not from grand declarations, but from small, honest reviews of our own choices. Each night, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius would pick up his pen and write in solitude. He didn't write to impress others. In fact, he never meant for his meditations to be read at all. It was his mirror, a space to ask himself, "Profession today, did I live by my values or drift with the crowd? Did I happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. What you think is what you become. And what you repeatedly ignore in yourself quietly shapes your fate." Daily reflection isn't indulgent, it's corrective, like a ship that constantly recalibrates its compass to stay true to the stars. In the rush of life, it's easy to become reactive. We say things we don't mean. We chase distractions. We forget our higher self. But at the end of each day, the world gives you a gift, a chance to pause. That pause, even just 5 quiet minutes, is sacred. It's where growth happens. It's where you transform from someone who lives by habit to someone who lives by design. Epictetus encouraged this same practice. He told his students, "Don't let sleep catch you unless you've reviewed the events of the day 3 times. Not to punish yourself, but to notice, to understand, to improve." Imagine someone who wants to get physically strong. They don't lift the heaviest weight once. They return to it, day after day,
Small repetitions, slight improvements. Reflection works the same way. Each night, you review your thoughts, your actions, your intentions. You carve a deeper path inward. Graphics, you begin noticing patterns. Deflate yourself just before the same old mistake. Deposited, start choosing with more awareness and reacting with more grace. That's not luck. That's inner engineering. Interestingly, what the Stoics discovered through practice, modern science now confirms. Daily journaling, mindfulness, and reflection have been shown to lower anxiety, improve decision-making, strengthen emotional regulation, enhance overall well-being. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, echoed the Stoic insight. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. To examine yourself daily is to break free from the invisible chains of unconscious behavior. It is the beginning of freedom. So, what might this look like for you? Each night, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I drift from my values? Where can I be better tomorrow? Write it down if you can, even a sentence. This simple ritual becomes a conversation with your higher self. And remember, this isn't about shame, it's about course correction. Not beating yourself up, but lifting yourself forward. Like a captain checking the stars before sleep. We often think growth comes with noise, goals, hustle, motivation speeches, but Stoicism teaches us the real revolution is silent. It happens in those few minutes at the end of your day when you slow down. When you take responsibility without shame. When you ask with kindness, how can I live more aligned tomorrow? Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. But the Stoics would add, the examined life is not just worth living. It is the only way to truly live. Because when you reflect, you begin to steer. And when you steer with wisdom, discipline, and self-awareness, you don't just chase a better life, you become it.